I just wanted to do a very quick little video. I'm going to try and keep this one very short and sweet. Seems like an appropriate time to do it. How to know the full width of your car in bumper cam. Okay, so bumper cam is probably the most commonly used view that people use. Obviously, if you're in chase camera or hood bonnet cam, whatever you want to call it, knowing the width of the car is a lot easier in those views, right? So I'm going to show you how I've done it. I'm going to show you what I've taught students, and then I'm going to show you another way which I need to credit Cyrus for. So Tyranno Cyrus Rex, if you don't follow him on YouTube, go and follow him because he is absolutely brilliant at what he does. One of my absolute favorite channels. And if you actually pay attention, real close attention to his track guides, he tells you everything you need to know about driving fast. So I'm going to compare my way of doing it to his way of doing it, and you guys can make your own minds up which way you think works for you. But I just did a lap analysis here for a student, and predictably the biggest problem with his lap was getting close enough to the walls. So using the full track width is not about knowing the width of the track or even knowing where the penalty line is. It's about knowing the width of your car. And we've been discussing that this week in the Digit Racing Creator Workshop that we're doing at the moment, which Digit will have content about coming shortly. So, right, now this is not my lap. This is the fastest replay on the leaderboard. It's actually P2 Global right now. The short version that I've always told students is, in order to use the full width of the car, place the dial. So we're looking at the rev counter and the speedometer there, right? So rev counter on the right, speedometer on the left. I've always told students, if you've got to put the wheel on a curb, and I'll show you this later at Red Bull Ring as a good example of this. If you've got to put the wheel on a curb or inside a white line, place the entire dial on that side, either on that curb or inside that white line. So what I would have told a student here in order to use the full track limits is place the entire rev counter on the right hand side between the white line and the wall. That's what I would have told people to do. And you're looking at P2 in the world right here, and that's what he's done. Now, we step outside the car and look at it, you can see that that's reasonably good advice, okay? So the car is inches from the wall, and the rev counter is actually touching the wall. So I've always said it's almost aligns. I've never said it perfectly aligns. I've said it almost perfectly aligns. And I think that's a reasonably good guide, okay? Now, Cyrus's way, and his is arguably more accurate. Freely concede that. I've no issue putting my hand up when someone's got something figured out better than me. So his way is that I don't know why I changed view there. Hold on. His way, if you look at the tachometer, so that's the shift bar at the top of your hood that's currently flashing blue. So it tells you when to shift. That is almost at the absolute extreme of the track, and Cyrus said that is the exact width of the car. And as you can see there, it is inches away from the wall, and once again the car is inches away from the wall. So kudos to Cyrus. Fully recommend going and subbing to his channel, and what I think he's making the best track guides that anyone currently makes. A lot of people have stopped making track guides. I think Cyrus's track guides are the best track guides out right now. So let's put that arrow right there. I want you to look right there, which is where the edge of the tachometer is. And you can see that the tachometer is perfectly on the line between the red tarmac and the concrete. So we come outside the car and say, where is the car? The car is actually slightly further in. So the car looks to be a tiny bit wider than the tachometer. But Cyrus is right, it's very accurate, right? Whereas the dial is almost all the way over to the wall, and the car isn't. So the car is narrower than the dials. So they both have inaccuracies. Cyrus's is definitely more accurate than mine, freely concede that. Why I still prefer using the dial in this situation is because your eyes should be up here, right? You should be looking at the vanishing point of the road. You should be looking round the corner for the exit. Now, with that in mind, I personally find it harder for my peripheral vision to line the car up to the wall using the tachometer. It's a narrower point for your peripheral vision to spot, whereas the big round dial is much easier to spot. So if you look at the vanishing point of the road, if you look up here around the corner at the vanishing point of the road, keep your vision there, and now tell me with your peripheral vision, can you see the tachometer easier or can you see the dial easier? Now for me, I can see the dial easier. Now if you can line it up using the tachometer like Cyrus does, fair play to you, more power to you. This is clearly at this point becomes a personal preference. But for me, what I would do here is I would place, again, almost the entire dial inside the white line. And you can see there that that is what we're doing. That is what's happening. And that's how close P2 in the world is. Now, just one more very quick example, and then just experiment with this yourself. Just play around with this yourself, and you'll start to see how they both work. This is Red Bull Ring, turn 3. What you have to do in this corner is looking at that curb there, you have to place the front inside tyre directly on that red and white curb. So what I've always told coaching students is place the rev counter, the rev dial, on that curb, directly on that curb, and you will hit the track limits perfectly. I didn't do much in the way of time trial on this race when we had it, and I didn't save any time trial replays, so I jumped into the gallery, the showcase. Lewis's lap was there. This was the world record. Thank you, Lewis, for saving that lap. It's been very convenient for me to use this morning. Let's see whether that dial hits that curb. So you can see they're getting closer, 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 and then the dial full bore hits the curb, right on the curb, and that is the track limits. Now the tachometer that Cyrus is teaching us is right on the white line. So if we come outside and we look at the car, you can see that the entire wheel is on that curb. So this is where I believe the dial method still has merit, because for me personally, I find it much easier to place the dial on that curb than to try and put the tachometer on the white line. That's a much larger hitbox, much easier for you to hit with your eyes. So again, Cyrus's method absolutely works. Thank you, Cyrus, for showing us that. Thank you guys for watching. Get out of here and go race.